So there's new reporting from the New York Times raising questions about the national security implications of the cuts being made and proposed by DOGE. This report digs into the impact of cuts at the National Nuclear Security Administration. It's the agency within the Energy Department that oversees our nation's nuclear weapons stockpile. Some 350 workers from the agency were set to be laid off back in February, but that order was rescinded, and the administration scrambled to rehire most of those workers after there was a public outcry about it. According to new documents, though, obtained by the Times, 27 of those workers were not hired back, and more than 130 others accepted buyout offers. Among those lost, and the Times reporting, they say, are key engineers and scientists who carried out some top-secret, high-risk operations and nuclear safety experiments, along with some experts and project managers who enforce safety and environmental standards. This just a couple of days after the Vice President, J.D. Vance, acknowledged in an interview that DOGE has made mistakes, saying that, quote, there are a lot of good people who work in the government, a lot of people who are doing a really good job. And with us right now is Congressman Pete Sessions. Now, Congressman Sessions is a Republican from Texas and happens to be co-chair of the Congressional DOGE Caucus. Welcome, Congressman. So the big picture question first I'd ask you on DOGE. I think the numbers we have from a Reuters poll are 51% agree with this question. But has Trump and Elon Musk, have they gone too far in their push to cut spending, which a lot of people actually agree with? But has the implementation gone too far? What would you say?
Well, I think that the agencies need to be able to make these decisions. And I will tell you that, for instance, in the Veterans Administration is months and months behind doing their job. OPM, Office Management Personnel, months behind doing their job. So I have no reason to believe that everyone in this government is not behind, which is why the president, I think, very properly and respectfully offered a buyout to people. I think that these agencies need to go in and measure 3 times, and if they need to, saw again, but they need to actually determine the needs of running their agencies, because when you simply have had this number of people out for a total of literally 4 years, there's a lot that needs to be done. Excuse me. And we need the ability to be able to ascertain that before we start moving necessarily to get rid of workers.
Right, which they're trying to do in a really, in a very fast way. And that's what some people's been rubbed the wrong way by that, how quickly they've moved. I heard someone say the other day, I think it was someone who agreed with the president generally speaking, that in order to get real change on anything, and including this, you're going to need the Congress. You need people like you, and you're in this DOGE caucus, that eventually, say, for example, you wanted to shut down the Department of Education. Well, you can't just do that. You can gut it, or you can cut a lot of it, I suppose, from the executive branch, but you would need congressional legislation, and there are other examples. So what does Congress have going on this front? DOGE-related spending cuts. What's Congress doing?
Well, in fact, you've said it correctly, I believe, but the Department of Education is entirely different. That's a funding mechanism that we can simply send the money to the states, where the work is essentially done back in the states within schools. These are laboratories. These are very important places that hold the key to benefits and ideas that we need to make sure that we're very careful on. And I've talked to Secretary Collins a couple times about the need to make at the VA. And we need to make sure that the numbers that we're dealing with, which means actionable items, that we're careful about. I don't disagree with the president. I think we need to do this, but the question is, at what balance to make sure you get the work done?
Are you working on any specific legislation? Is there any bills that we should be looking out for?
Yes. As a matter of fact, and you'll see that in about 2 weeks, and that deals with how we're going to look at data and information about people who we know have not paid their bills in the past, and we're going to, instead of pay and chase, we're going to move this upfront authority and responsibility to agencies. It may take an extra day or two, but they will run the data and information through known databases to make sure that they know.
What agency are you referring to when you say people haven't paid their bills? Like what would that legislation deal with specifically?
Well, we know, for instance, that there's $1.7 trillion worth of money that has flown out to the wrong person, unintended. Could have been the IRS, could have been the VA, but they do not use properly an upfront vetting process. They looked at their own data,
Right.
and that data is not correct.
Thanks so much for watching. Just go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.